This is the plaintiff, Manuel Montero. He says he gave the defendant a deposit on some kitchen cabinets she was selling. And when he went to her house to remove them, she and her husband refused and kicked him out. He doesn't know what kind of scam the defendant's trying to pull because she won't return his money, and he's suing for the $600 he's owed. This is the defendant, Darlene Troisi. She says the plaintiff and her husband exchanged some words in the kitchen, and the plaintiff told her he no longer wanted the cabinets and demanded a refund. The cops were called. They told this guy to shut his mouth, and then they made him leave. The plaintiff changed his mind, therefore is not entitled to a refund. She's accused of being kitchy.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says that he bought some kitchen cabinets from the defendant, but she will not let him pick them up. Now, the defendant says the plaintiff's a hothead who had words with her husband and now deals off. It's the case of being kitchy.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
All right, Mr. Montero, you are suing Ms. Troisi for the return of a $600 deposit on $1,200 of cabinets. Was the whole thing going to be 12?
Yes.
Okay. Because according to you, she breached the contract. Tell me what happened.
I saw those kitchen cabinets in the granite countertop on the Facebook, and we like them. And then we sent her a message. She was asked, I think, $1,500, and I asked her if she can do it 12, and then she said, yes, I will do 12.
Okay, so you send a $600 deposit, you schedule a pickup date. Tell me about the scheduling of the pickup date.
The pickup date, and she told me she can never give me the kitchen cabinet after Easter, which is April 4th.
She can't give it to you until after Easter.
Yes.
Okay, so you guys pick out your date, you figure it out, you go over there to pick it up, and what happens?
We call her, and I thought we are outside. And then about 3-4 minutes, and then she said, okay, you guys can come in. And then we walk inside. When we walk inside, she was not there. His husband was there. The husband started swear with the F words.
F words?
Yeah.
Why?
What happened when I went inside the house, the husband transformed it changed for completed. And then it was
The husband what? Transformed? He changed completely.
And then they started calling
Transformed himself from what? You never met the guy before. You don't know how he is.
No, I never met him before.
Right. So what do you mean by transformed himself?
Because he said, oh, you got the money? You got the money? And then I told him, yes, I have the money. And then I told him, you should remove the appliance. And then okay, I'm not going to do this stuff. I'm not going to help you do any of those things. And then he started calling names. It transformed. He got very upset.
Okay, now you were under the impression that the appliances were going to have been what? Disconnected or removed?
All disconnected, we agreed.
Right. But so if you had agreed that they'd be disconnected, were they not disconnected?
Not disconnected. The appliance was still in there, connect the microwave. His husband tried to get a screwdriver to go disconnect, and then he started throw his mouth with a lot of F words. And I thought, I don't understand. Was it directed at you, or was it directed at the job he had to do? What was it directed at? The F-bombs? I think I'll probably say it started due to the job where he tried to do to remove the microwave. And then, fortunately, he gets so loud. His wife coming down from upstairs and say, oh, you guys get out of here. Get out.
To who? To you or to him?
3 people. We are 3 people. It's me and my stepdaughter and my girlfriend.
How old is your stepdaughter?
She's 15.
Okay. So according to you, she breaches because the appliances are not disconnected, and that was the deal, and she throws you out, and he's calling you the F word. According to you, Ms. Troisi, what happened?
We had an arrangement for him to pick up the cabinets after Easter, and I explained to him, the cabinets are heavy. Do you have help? He said, yes, I do. I have a truck with a tailgate. I said, that's good. He said, I'm a plumber. I can disconnect them myself. And I said to him,
Disconnect. Wait, I'm a plumber. I can disconnect what myself?
The appliances. But I didn't want him to anyways.
Well, that's fine. So I do see a text where you say you will be disconnecting the appliances. So
yes,
what happened? Did you disconnect the appliances?
Everything was disconnected except for the microwave. When he came in the house,
right. Okay,
my husband was when my husband was taking it down, and my husband said to him, "Can you please just hold the side of it? I can't take the whole thing down by myself." I had explained to him that my husband was in an accident and he couldn't do everything, and he couldn't help him a lot. So my husband asked him.
Well, that's not his job. It's his job to have the tools to take the cabinets out and take the granite out and everything else. That's totally on him, and he has no right to expect your husband to help. But I guess your husband, who was supposed to have disconnected, or somebody, your plumber, whoever, your handyman, whoever was supposed to have disconnected the appliance, didn't get to their job and didn't do it. So he does have to help your husband, right?
So it was one item that my husband asked him to hold the corner of, to put down, to get up.
And what did he say? What did Mr. Montero say?
As far as my husband told me, he refused, and they had words, and that's
what were the words they had? Did your husband ever tell you what the words were?
I didn't hear much, but him yelling at my husband and them arguing with each other, and I came down the stairs.
What were they saying when they argued with each other?
My husband said he was saying, "I'm not taking the cabinets. I don't want the cabinets." And by the time I came down the stairs, he was screaming and yelling at my husband, and I asked him to leave. And he walked out, and he called me from outside, and he said, "I would like my money back." And I said, "I'm sorry, I don't think that's right." So he said, "I'm calling the police." I said, "Okay."
What'd you tell the officer?
I told him that I came down the stairs, and he was arguing with my husband, and I asked him to leave. I heard
because
him
you made the conclusion that you weren't going to return his money, so I presume you tried to get to the bottom of what happened when you had the hubris to go into your bedroom. Apparently, you can't do that without all that testosterone batting back and forth and ruining your gig. You had sold this stuff and you needed it out because you had demolitioners coming the next day, right? Like you were on a schedule to do your remodeling. Everything is taken care of. All of a sudden you come down and it all goes to crap in what, 2 minutes that you're upstairs, right?
Yeah.
Let me hear from your husband. Is your husband there?
Yes. Can you hold on one second?
Sure,
please?
darling.
Robert?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Can you raise your right hand, please?
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay. What's your name?
Robert Troisi.
Okay. Mr. Troisi, what happened between you and the plaintiff here?
He came in, and I asked him if he could hold a microwave because I had just had
No,
knee
start from the
replacement
very
surgery.
beginning. He comes in, and who says what to who?
I asked him to hold. He complained because the microwave was still on the wall. Mm-hmm. And I said to him, I was in the process of taking it down. And I asked him if he could hold the bottom of it because I just had knee replacement surgery, and I was up on a stool. And he refused to do it, and then he said he didn't want the cabinet. I had asked him a number of times for the money up front, the money that he owed us.
When you say I had asked him, you had asked him when?
When he was in the house.
Oh, okay. All right. You said what exactly?
I said, you owe us more money, and I expect you to pay it.
And he said?
And he didn't say anything really. He said, I'm not going to pay. I asked him to hold the end of the bottom of the microwave, and he refused to do it.
And then you said?
I said, I'm not going to be able to do it.
Do you think that's his job, though, putting aside whether this is the most ridiculous display of batting testosterone that I've ever seen, because everyone needs his stupid cabinets out. You got a guy there who's going to give you another $600. You're going to get $1,200 for a cabinet. Whenever I do anything like this, I got to pay somebody to take my cabinets and granite. But you're getting to it. I mean, this is like the perfect gig. What went wrong, really? I know what Mr. Montero thinks went wrong. Mr. Montero, what do you think went wrong?
It's the bad word that man was started giving to us.
Okay, but no, why don't you call this what you called it in the complaint? You think that he's a racist because he saw you when you were black. That's what you say happened.
That's correct.
Okay. Now, Mr. Troisi, did anything come up of a racist nature between you and this gentleman?
Absolutely not, Your Honor.
Okay, so how did you ask him to help you with the microwave? Because the truth is that he is not there to disconnect microwaves. How did it come about? That's what I'm trying to understand.
I simply explained to him that I just recently had knee replacement surgery, and there was no way that I was going to be able to hold up the microwave at that time.
Okay, and why wasn't this done before now?
I was in the process of doing
Yeah,
it.
I know they were. That wasn't my question. Why hadn't that already been done so that he can go boom, 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 take out the cabinets, take out the granite, and get out of your life and pay you another $600? How many times had your wife asked you to do it?
She didn't ask me to do it.
Okay, well, how did you expect to? So why wasn't that done before the guy was there to pick it up?
I didn't know that it had to be done, Your Honor.
You expected him to do it?
No, I didn't expect. I asked him simply to hold up
you were
the
just going in
bottom of it.
circles. Mr. Monteiro, you said you wanted to put some witnesses on as well.
Yes.
Can I speak to your daughter? Raise your right hand, honey.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank
All
you.
right. What happened there? Were you with them when they walked into the house?
Yes.
So what do you think happened?
So we called, and then he said, I'm going to put the dogs outside. His wife was upstairs, and then we went inside, and we were just looking. We liked it. And then he said, okay, I have to remove the microwave. And then he went to go grab a screwdriver. And then he was like, oh, I can't do anything. I think because he said he got knee surgery. And then he was like, he said an F word when trying to remove it. And then, hold on, a little shaky.
Go ahead. I know what the F word is. Don't worry. And then what?
And then he went over there, and then he was like, oh, do you have the $600? And then my dad didn't respond. And then I said, yes, my mom's going to grab it. And then he went over there, and he repeated, I can't help you, like 3 times. And then right when my mom went outside, and then my dad and me and most of my mom's brother, we went near the door. And then my dad was like, oh, the microwave should have been removed. And then he was like, I understand that, very loudly. And then when my mom came inside, and then they started like, he was just yelling, and my dad said,
what was he yelling? That's the part I don't want to skip over that everybody seems to skip over. What was he yelling?
He was like, I understand that. I'm getting it removed. And then my dad was like, oh, I'm not here for that. I'm not here to argue. And then his wife was like, oh. And she came downstairs, and she was like, get out.
Okay. Did you ever hear him, your dad say, I don't want the cabinets?
After that, he said he doesn't want it. But he said he asked my dad to remove the microwave. He did not.
Okay. So what do you think the fight was about then? If it wasn't about that, why were they fighting?
Because my dad said the microwave should have been removed. And then he was like, I understand that, like very loud. And
wow.
He weren't there to have a disagreement. He was just there to pick up the cabinets.
Okay. So but when she says get out, had your father before that said, I don't want the cabinets?
Right when he said, oh, I understand. And then he said, you know what, I don't want that. And then his wife came downstairs and heard them saying that. She's like, hey. And then she said, get out. We're already getting out.
All right. I got it. Let me speak to Darlene, please.
Okay.
Thank you. So who breached then? That's really the question. He is trying to get his $600 back because he's saying you breached because there were not only was an appliance there, but that it wasn't like an apology that the appliance was still connected. It was I understand that, according to him. But is there any doubt that the microwave shouldn't have been connected at that time? I mean, nobody's going to give you the rest of the money until you remove the microwave. So how do you figure he breached when you still hadn't taken the appliances off?
There was one appliance that my husband was in the process of removing.
And asking him to help. And then he didn't like how your husband was talking to him, and your husband didn't like how he was talking to him, and then it's F this, F that. Because ¿quién es más macho? Right?
I guess. I don't exactly know what you're saying, but I guess.
That was a skit on Saturday Night Live. ¿Quién es más macho? Who is more? Ricardo Montalban es más macho. That was a skit on Saturday Night Live in the 70s and the 80s. You were around in the 70s and the 80s, right?
Oh, yes, I was. I just don't remember that.
Okay.
I don't.
Well, it's a saying that means everybody's just a little too overly testosterone. Like everybody's just, you know, kind of, I don't know. I can't help but feel that if you were downstairs, this wouldn't have happened. That's just how I feel.
It's possible.
I know. And then, you know, you'd have $1,200 on your side, the kitchen out of there, and a lot less aggravation if you had been down there. And if you had made him remove the microwave beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't, it's not anything I wanted to be. I didn't want this to happen.
No,
I
in fact, what happened?
Yeah.
Why did you tell him to get out?
Because they were yelling, and I didn't want anything to happen.
But you still don't know, you can't discern for me who was yelling what at who.
I can't say exactly, and I'm not going to say something I can't remember exactly.
And do you remember anything your husband said?
I remember him saying, "Can you just hold the end of the microwave?"
Yeah.
That's all I remember.
Yeah. Well, there's two ways to do that. There's, "Oh, it's so nice to meet you," shaking his hand and saying, "So you guys are remodeling? Oh, that's great. Yeah, we are too. Wow, what a headache. So listen, I need to take this down. Do you think you could help me out?" And there's another, "Hold the other side of that microwave." I don't know which one of those it was, but clearly something in the tone of these two gentlemen with each other did not work out. And then you got stuck with a kitchen that was attached, and you probably had to pay people to get that out, right? How much did you have to pay to get, and did that delay your project?
Different amounts for different things, and the kitchen is still not done, and hopefully it'll be done by the fall.
Ms. Tracy, you're really going to hate this. Based on what I have heard, I am ordering you to return the $600 to the plaintiff, because even though I am not a fly on that wall or a tape recorder, and I can't actually know in my heart of hearts what was said by anybody, I have to just look at what both sides agree on, which is, there's a text where you say that, he's just going to be removing the cabinets and the granite, and he gets to that house and both sides agree that one of the appliances wasn't removed, and both sides agree that your husband is expecting the guy to help him do that. If I have to find where a breach happened, that's where a breach happened. Ergo, you have to give the guy his money back. $600 verdict for the plaintiff.
So the plaintiff prevails and is going to get his $600 back. Ms. Troisi, I can't believe you're surprised at the judge's decision, are you?
I guess, it's not something I've done before, and I guess
You're going to have a chat with your husband about this? What do you think he's going to say?
We'll probably have a conversation about when will this kitchen be done, and all of this stuff will be over.
Okay. Well, sorry. You got to give the plaintiff his deposit back, the $600. That's the judge's decision. Mr. Montero, how do you feel about this? You feel vindicated, right?
Yeah, I feel great, and I think she did a decent job. Another thing I have to clear is that if I went to your house, you already removed the microwave, and you tell me, "Can you help me, please remove the microwave?" I would be glad to do it. You know what I mean? But that's not the case. His face transformed for completely. And they started with the F word, like he's going to remove the microwave. I tried to be nice with him, but at such a point I feel I was not safe for me and my family, so I have to leave.
Well, you made the right decision. Congratulations, you're going to get your money back. All right, Harvey, what are you thinking?
Doug, this was kind of an issue of timing that these cabinets were not ready for removal when the plaintiff came by. Timing is really important in contracts like this. And I'm going to give you the magic words. We've talked about this before, but the magic words are time is of the essence. If you write that in the deal, that means the date that says things have to be ready and delivered, that date sticks.
Harvey, my neighbor's dog, was staying at my house for a couple of weeks while they were on vacation. While I was in the backyard with the neighbor's dog and my dog, Harvey got spooked by a passerby and suddenly attacked my dog. Who is responsible for my dog's vet bill?
There's what's legally the responsibility of someone, and there's what's right or wrong. And sometimes they're not exactly the
Manners,
same thing.
right?
Right. Now, this situation comes like out of, chapter 1, verse 1 of no good deed goes unpunished. I got to tell you, if I'm the neighbor who owns Harvey, I'm paying.
Well, I know,
paying.
and I think there would be no question that that's what you or I would do.
That's the right thing to do.
That's the right thing to do. Now, let's talk about the legal thing to do.
Now, if it's in court.
Right, and every state has different laws about the responsibility of a dog owner towards their dog. Some states are strict liability, and it's just your dog bites another dog, you pay.
Take out your checkbook.
Take out your checkbook.
Right.
So, assuming that you live in one of those states, the answer is easy. But if you don't live in one of those states, then the argument is, hey, I wasn't in charge of my dog. You were in charge of my dog.
Right.
So you were supposed to be making sure that the dogs all got along right. And, you know, as I always tell my litigants, the law doesn't punish dogs for being dogs. It punishes humans, you know, for their conduct. In strict liability states, it punishes you for being the owner of the dog that bit. And that's that. It makes it nice, clean, and simple. In states that don't have strict liability, it's who was supervising the dogs and were they supervising them adequately to keep them from hurting each other.
Right. But again, also going back, the right thing to do, Hartzell should probably pay.
Yeah, that's what I would do if I was
Hartzell.